back, relax, and maybe get yourself a snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hey guys! So I'm here today to do a really fun, quick little video. I asked on Twitter for you guys to give me ideas of videos you wanted to see, and I suggested a few, and one of the ideas that I got was a kind of highlights video, or like your top of the year so far. So I decided I would just do a quick video of my 5 favourite books that I have read this year so far. Not all of them were released this year, they're just books that I happened to get to this year. But I have adored all of them. All of them got 5 stars from me. I have done reviews for 3 of them, and the other 2 I will be doing reviews very soon for because they are fairly new ones that I only just read. So look out for them, and I'll tell you quickly what my list is. And there's not really an order to this, to be honest. I don't know, I love them all in very different ways, so let's just get straight in. The first one I have to talk about is the second one in a series. This is the second one in the Greatcoat series by Sebastian de Castell, and it's called Knight's Shadow. And this is a sword and sorcery, really fun interpretation of play on the Three Musketeers, but with a fantasy world and with some really cool moments. What I love about this world and Castell's work is that it's very brash, it's very crude, it's very witty, and it all rolls off so easily that you can devour the books really quickly. You can just get lost in them, you can just enjoy the characters, the plot and the world, and there's pretty much nothing bad I could say about this book because it was awesome. The only thing I will say is that it is definitely adult content and there is a lot of torture and such in this book, so if you're not into that sort of thing and you can't read that, you probably want to steer clear of this series generally. It is very adult, but if you do like that sort of thing, then I would 100% recommend the series. I've read the first 3, I still need to get to the 4th, but I will very soon, and I absolutely adored this one in particular. It is my favourite one in the series so far, and I really hope the 4th one is just as good, but I will let you know when I read that how I feel about it. If you want to watch my review, I will link it, so go and check that out. The next one I have to talk about is one of the new ones that I've not reviewed just yet, but I will very soon. This is book 5 in a series, and it's the Split World series by Emma Newman. This only recently came out, and it's called All Good Things. And I adore this series. It is honestly one of the best, in fact the best, urban fantasy series I've ever read. It's like miles ahead of all the other urban fantasy series I've ever read because I've never really continued very far with most series, whereas this is the final one in this series, so I've actually completed it, which makes me very, very happy. Not only is it absolutely a wonderful cover, as you can see, it's gorgeous, it's purple, that's my favourite colour of purple, I love it. But it also is a fantastic series. It is very, very feminist heavy. It's very girl power, very lady power throughout the whole series, but it starts off kind of weaker, and then by this book it's incredibly strong on the feminist issues within fantasy, which I have to say I have never seen women written better in fantasy. That is what I can say about this. I've never seen them done better. There are so many different types of lady in this book. They're all really genuine, all really realistic. They all have their own crap going on and problems to deal with, and yet they're all also very easy to get into the head of. Even the ones that I don't like, I can understand their motives because they make sense as people, as ladies, as characters. And the same goes for all of the men. I'm just particularly pointing out the women in this because I do think this is a very lady heavy fantasy series and it's not something that you often get. It's kind of out of the norm, so it's well worth pointing out. There are 3 different worlds. There's the world where we have the Fae touch, there's the mortal world, and then there's Exilium, which is where the Fae live. So the people in this story can kind of cross between all the boundaries. It's excellent. I've never seen fairies and fae done in a way that I've enjoyed until I hit this series, and now I'm desperate for more. I can't wait to see what she comes out with next in fantasy. I know at the moment she's doing her sci-fi series, but I'd love to see some more fantasy from her because I absolutely adored this and it was just excellent. So yeah, would recommend. Go check out my review of the series, and I will be reviewing this one very soon too. The next book I have is actually a non-fiction, which is awesome, and that is The Good Immigrant, which is edited by Nikesh Shukla but contains 21 different authors writing about their experiences as immigrants or coming from families of immigrants into the UK in particular. You can see I've tabbed this book to death. I don't often use the little tab things, but this book merited it 100%. It was very quote-worthy. It was emotional, it was raw, it was very, very eye-opening. As someone who lives in the UK and who isn't an immigrant to this country, it made me think a lot deeper about issues that I maybe had heard of or I'd maybe thought briefly about, but I hadn't gone into the detail. It made me check myself and it made me think deeper about how other people around me might be experiencing things differently from how I experience them. And I really, really would recommend this book. I think it is an essential reading book for anyone in the UK, but also just anyone who's interested in the topics of immigration and how different and hard it can be, and also how beautiful it can be, because there's good and bad in this book, and I absolutely adored it. It's quite short considering, well, compared to fantasy books, it's quite short, but it was beautiful and I adored it, and of course I gave this 5 stars too, and if you want to know a bit more about it, I will link my review. The next one is probably no surprise to most of you, and that one is Assassin's Fate by Robin Hobb. Of course, this one had to make the list because it is the final one in the Fits and the Fool series, and just generally possibly in the world of the Realm of the Elderlings. I don't know, I hope not, but it could be. I've done a full review on this one. It couldn't not make my list because it is my favourite series of all time. I've never been so committed to a series as I am with this one, and I adore it, and I cannot help but just bring it up in every video ever, so sorry about that, but I love it. It is just exceptional. Fitz and Fool are my favourite characters, and they just exude awesomeness and sadness and every emotion in between. They are really brutalised throughout the series. It's not a nice series, it is hard-hitting and emotional, but I loved it, and this is basically number 16 in the series, I think. So I've done reviews of all of the Robin Hobb books, but I've done a review of this one in particular, so I'll link that review, and then from there you can watch all my other reviews because they're linked there too. But surprisingly, I don't think it's my favourite of the year. I think the last one just edges it out, which is pretty impressive. So the last one that is on my list, and is actually currently my favourite book of the year, is this one, The Wall of Storms by Ken Liu. You guys might remember fairly recently, I think like a month or two ago, I read The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu, so this is the second one in the series of the Dandelion Dynasty, and my goodness, I adored this book. Absolutely adored it. I adored all the others I'm talking about, but this one, it was just so good. Another one that had amazing female characters, and I really, really felt that it was elevated from the first book. What I loved about the first book was that it was very different from a lot of fantasy I've read. It was very interesting because it focused on Eastern-inspired culture, which was fantastic to see and really, really unique and something we don't get an awful lot of. So I was loving that. I loved the characters, I loved the plot of the first book, but what I adored about this one was the amount of fantastic ideas that Ken Liu puts across. His characters really had some wonderful things to say, some things that I'd never thought about before, that I could sit down, I could embrace the idea, I could contemplate it myself, and I could get excited about reading new ideas, fresh stuff, things that I hadn't seen time and time again, things that defied the tropes. Talking of tropes, this completely blew me away with how many times it evaded what I thought was going to be a stereotypical trope. It sets up for various things and then goes completely different directions from where I envisioned, which was great because I thought, oh, I hope he doesn't do that because it will be predictable, and he didn't. He did something completely different and took me on a roller coaster journey of emotions. Again, it is an emotional read. I feel like this one and Robin Hobb are definitely the most emotional, and I loved it. I absolutely adored it, and I ended up buddy reading this one with Rhea and James, whose channels are linked below, and we just couldn't stop talking about it. Particularly Rhea and I were just constantly going on about how much we loved this series and this book. Sarah is my favourite character from this. I adored her. She is just like the epitome of what I want in a female fantasy character, because she's intelligent, she's witty, she's funny, she's able to think outside the box, she's able to do things for herself, but she also has a sensitive and caring side, she has a loving side, she has a reasonable side, and she has an angry side, and she's just got a bit of everything. She feels very, very real, which I loved. So I will be reviewing this very, very soon. Watch out for the actual review. But it was brilliant. I mean, it was absolutely brilliant, and I don't know how he's going to top it for number 3, but I hope he does, and I have faith, so fingers crossed. But yeah, it was amazing. In fact, all of these books were amazing. So that is my top 5 of the year so far. Those are the books that are in the running to be my top of the year overall. I guess we'll find out whether any of them make it. Hopefully they will. I loved these books, and I hope you guys will as well. Do let me know in the comments below if you've read any, or if you plan to read any of these 5 books, which one appeals to you the most. Thank you all for watching, go check out my reviews, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye guys!
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.